Hi guys, this is my dog. His name is Bullet and he's a 5-year-old German Shepherd. And I've already taken him to 3 different vets to see, well, what is the issue. He has really severe constipation and painful defecation, straining, and at this point I don't know what to do, and the vets don't know what it is, and they just keep prescribing medication, but it doesn't seem to be helping. And the last vet that I took him to, I still have not bought in the medication because it's so expensive, and really I don't even know if it's going to work. um, so far we've given him antibiotics and just medication that would lower the inflammation. um, as you can see in this picture, he's also getting very thin in his lower back area. I don't know if you can see it in this picture, but um, he is getting thinner, but he is eating. He's willing to eat, but he's just unable to defecate, and he is getting thinner. In the next picture, this is what his um, anal area looks like, and as you can see, there's also there's inflammation. There's like a lot of skin that is around his anal area, and this happens specifically when he's pushing or when he's trying to defecate. And recently, before, he would be able to defecate, but it would be very painful, and I had to give him a lot of fiber, pumpkin every day and olive oil in his food just so he could go. But he was able to go, but he would still strain. And now he's not able to go at all. And as you can see in the picture, you could see the poop, but he's not able to actually defecate that. It pops up, but it's not able to actually come out. So in the previous video, you could definitely tell that he's straining and that it's very painful for him. He's, crying in pain. And before, he was able to pass stool. And again, if I give him olive oil or pumpkin, then it comes out normal like this picture. And then now, and then sometimes, even if I give him olive oil, or if I don't, if I forget, sometimes he'll get bloody stools. Even if I give him fiber, he might still get bloody stools. And now he's not able to defecate at all. This is the first vet that saw our dog, and it was a mobile vet, and he prescribed these injections and medication. And the first time he prescribed this, it seemed to help, but he still had the straining, and I had to make sure to give him the fiber. And he prescribed this medication recently, about, I believe now it's 2 weeks ago, but it has not reduced the inflammation at all. So I don't think they seem to be working at this point. They don't seem to reduce any inflammation. This is the second vet that I took him to, and this was in an actual vet. It was like a small clinic. The doctor said that it could be perianal fistulas, and she said that they were not common in German Shepherds, which is not true. I actually did my research before, and it's actually very common in German Shepherds, just due to the fact that they have a different, structurally they have a different kind of body, and sometimes if they hurt their hip area, it could even affect their ability, to go to the bathroom and a lot of other issues. So she prescribed antibiotics and a topical ointment, and I paid for the antibiotics. I did not pay for the topical ointment. I didn't have enough money to pay for it at the time. But I also wanted to wait and do further research on the ointment to see if it would work, to see if it was worth paying for it. And I found out that there, um, in forums, that people that tried this type of medication and it didn't work. And it was multiple people that wrote, their experiences with this type of medication. And so just, sometimes you don't always want to trust what forums say. You don't know if people, use it correctly. But if multiple people are posting this and are writing the same experience, there has to be some truth in that. Also, in this vet visit, I asked them to have his anal glands, cleaned, and they also clipped that area as well. And he still had this issue even after this was done. Um, it didn't seem to change anything. He was still able to defecate. The vet also did an anal exam, and she confirmed that he doesn't have any tumors, and there's no possibility of prostate cancer at all. And she confirmed that. Also, she recommended that he have a blood test just to make sure that the medication wouldn't affect him, or to see if his blood cells are normal. She didn't give me a call back regarding the blood cells, so I'm assuming that they're normal and there's nothing wrong. And also, I forgot to mention that he tends to lick his anal area, and he also tends to eat his poop when he was defecating. He would eat his poop, and I read that that is because it's more easier for them to digest, because it's already been digested. And they will eat their feces because it's more easier for them to digest it, or more easier for them to extract it afterwards. Sorry for the poor quality in this video. Basically, this is Bullet, and he's trying to defecate. He's pacing around, and it's very hard to see right now because it's dark time. Um, but he's pacing around, and right now at this point, he's actually not able to pass his stools, and it's very inflamed back there, and the hole is so small because of the inflammation. This is during the daytime. This is the third vet I took Bullet to. This was a larger hospital, emergency hospital, and I took him for a normal appointment, and the doctor also confirmed that it is perianal fistula, and he said that it is normal and common in German Shepherd breeds. He also did an anal examination, and also put Bullet under sedation to do the examination, and he confirmed that it is perianal fistulas. But I don't think that he was able to see the inflammation that I'm talking about, because it only happens when he's actually trying to defecate, when he's actually pushing, and specifically when he's pushing, that's when you can really see the inflammation come out. So I don't really think he was able to see that accurately through that examination, because at that point he's not pushing, he's laying down on the table. I also requested that they do x-rays just to make sure that he doesn't have anything lodged in his stomach or in his rectal area. And according to the X-ray interpretation, they said that he doesn't have anything and that everything appears to be normal. My other concern is that it could be a perforation that at this point has become so inflamed, just because of an open wound, a wound that has been opened. But the X-rays don't really show that, and I'm assuming an ultrasound will, and I'm actually considering doing that just to make sure that he doesn't have any perforations. Also, the only thing the vet noticed in the x-ray is that there is hardened stool in his bowel area, and again, that is because he is constipated and he's not able to pass the stool. And later, they were offering me if I want to proceed with an enema. This was via email, or to give him Miralax, and I don't see how that Miralax can be prescribed with fiber. I mean, why are you prescribing fiber if there is inflammation? You have to actually solve the root of the problem first, solve the inflammation, reduce the inflammation so that the stool can pass. Why would you all of a sudden recommend, more fiber? To me, what it seems is that these vets they're just expensive. They keep mounting more things to pay for, and try this and try that, and they're just not sure for the medication and the actual prescriptions that were given. And this doctor even prescribed a specific type of food, which is specific to dogs that have digestive problems, and they're designed this the food is designed this way to prevent any irritation in the bowels. So he keeps prescribing these a diet and then the medication, but never did he mention, hey, this I've had these patients that also had the perianal fistula. This is what happened. There's a 50% chance, or there's a to me, it just seems as though they're not really addressing the root of the problem, and they're prescribing, long-term medication and long-term diets, and buy this brand and buy that brand. And I just don't see them actually, trying to solve the root of the problem and, saying, okay, this is what will actually work. There's no actual certainty. So to me, that just tells me that, why would I trust what you're saying if, that you don't have any proof that this recommendation or the solution has actually worked with your other patients. And not to mention, the actual medications are expensive. One of them costs like $800, which I did not buy because after the consultation and all the other fees that they add, such as the sedation and then the x-rays, and then for someone to interpret the x-rays, so many different fees. Obviously, I couldn't even afford to, at this point, pay for that medication. I still have the prescriptions there. I went to ask just to see how much it cost. The other one cost $20. And I'm just trying to do more research beforehand before giving my dog these type of medications, because you just never know. They're medications, right? They're prescription drugs, so they're very strong, and I don't want this to somehow affect my dog or to affect the kidneys. It's just like a human being. When you are constantly taking medications, you have to make sure that you're healthy, to be able to tolerate these medications. And over time, these medications can be very damaging to our kidneys and to our other organs, because they are very strong. And this doctor didn't ask or require a blood test. They asked for the other previous vet to send those in, um, to send them a copy of the results to them. But I still didn't get a call back for them saying, hey, you know what, based on the blood test results, these medications seem to be fine. Your dog will be able to tolerate it. None of that, none of that type of follow up. So it just, to me, it just seems as though it's a business, and it is. Right? They just, go to the next person, to the next person. They don't really seem to follow up, and if they do, they're just asking, "Would you like to try this? Would you like to try that?" Just keep mounting more services or more things that you have to pay for another visit, and I just don't see them actually concerned with the patients. I just want to mention for the third vet, they did call to follow up on the x ray, of course, because I paid for that. But then afterwards, as far as a follow up, and if you ask questions, they don't really give you too many answers. And it seems as though you have to pay again for another visit if you want to ask more questions. Um, or even if maybe it's not just, I tried to ask questions during the vet, everything I can think of, but then, you're noticing other things, or maybe you forgot something, and or you just want to know, okay, what else can I do, this is happening, what else can I do? And you have to either pay for another visit, or you know like in my case, what happened was I was telling them that my dog is now constipated and he can't go to the bathroom, and so they said, oh, if you want, we can do an enema, you can bring him back and we can do an enema. And I thought, I'm not going to. First of all, it took a while for me to bring him there because it was an hour away, and now I need to pay another visit. You couldn't tell me that while I was there. Now I have to pay another visit to do this enema. So that's what I'm trying to say is they keep, oh, pay for another visit. Oh, you want more information? Okay, pay for another visit. Oh, you want more help? Okay, pay for another visit. It's just, and so at this point, I'm just really fed up. I'm really fed up with all, the different types of vets. They're not really addressing the root of the problem. And again, I've tried two different vets, and I have bought the prescriptions for the two vets. I only The only one I didn't buy was from the second vet. I didn't buy the ointment, and that's because again I researched and I saw that it didn't work. So I was not going to waste my money on that. And the third vet, I did not buy any of the prescriptions yet. I have still to do that, but again, like I'm saying, if I've already tried two different vets, two different medications and antibiotics, and if they're not working, and another doctor is prescribing me the same thing, another something else for the inflammation and to reduce, antibiotics, or to reduce the inflammation, to me, I'm just saying that the pattern, if it's not working the first time and it's not working the second time, why would it work the third time? And really, they're just not that concerned to say, what if it's something else? So that's pretty much what I think right now. Also, I would like to mention that my dog has pretty much eaten kibble all his life. And most of these veterinarians will say that, kibble, try different kibbles. Maybe that one is, your dog is allergic to it. Maybe, the chicken, maybe they need to try lamb. Maybe they need to try fish, etc. And we did try changing the cereals, but he still seemed to have the constipation problem. And finally, I think it was a year ago or a year and a half ago, I did some research into raw diet, and I talked to my dad about it, and he told me that I he recommended that I don't try it because the dog is older now and it should have been done when he was a puppy, and so at this point, if I tried to do that, that it would affect the dog. And this was about a year ago. It seemed to be logical. So I didn't try it, but I just thought that, okay, it has to be the food that is causing this to happen. So there has to be a change in the diet. And I kept doing research on, raw food, raw diet, and people changing their dogs into to raw food, and how it actually benefited their dog, and their dog started improving, and they didn't have these skin problems, they didn't have these digestive problems, they were able to digest the food correctly. And I just started getting really desperate after seeing, okay, two vets, and this is not working. And of course, if I even ask a vet, hey, what if I try uh what if I try raw food diet, they're going to tell me don't do it. They're going to discourage me to do it, because the vet situation and pet stores and pet food stores, it's a business. They profit off of this business. And of course, vets also are intelligent. I'm not saying that they're not. Of course, they know how to take care of the pets, and they know what to do in emergency situations. But as far as raw food diet, they don't recommend it. And they don't even talk about that. They don't even try to mention it. Yeah, maybe you should try that. So, I mean, I didn't even mention that to any of the vets that I spoke to, because I already know the answer. They're not going to recommend that type of diet. They're going to recommend, most of the vets I spoke to, or actually just one of the vets I spoke to, recommended kibble with fish oil, and the third one recommended a type of food called Royal Canin, and and the second vet didn't recommend any food or any food changes. But pretty much what I'm trying to say is they only recommended kibble type of foods. They did not recommend raw food diet. And anyway, I started looking into other types of foods that could help the dog. I've just been giving my dog from PetSmart. It's like soft food, raw food. It's called raw food, but it's not like the real raw food, because the real raw food, it's like actually, you're actually giving the dog raw meat, and you can tell that it's raw meat. And this type of food from PetSmart or Petco, both have them. They're like processed, and it doesn't look like actual raw food. But I would buy him that type of food because it's more safer. It's coming from a store that's reputable, and so they're going to be careful, make sure that there's no recalls or there's nothing like that. And it also has vegetables. It has carrots and peas, and I think it's called Pet Fresh. And I would give him that. And also, I would give him green tripe, but I would give him the one from Petco. They're the only ones that have it, and it's a canned version. Um, I don't know if it actually works, because it is canned and it's not like the natural one. And I don't know. I think it seemed to be working. It seemed to be helping him. He wasn't straining. He wasn't in pain as much, and he was able to defecate. But he still had the problem. He still had straining, and I had to make sure again to give him pumpkin every now and then, or every other day, sometimes, and olive oil, and it's still didn't seem to be helping. I would even give him a coconut oil, because someone recommended that, and still didn't really improve. It's as if I had to keep giving him, that the olive oil and the fiber. Um, but at least he wasn't straining as much. He wasn't as much in pain, but sometimes he was. Now at this point, I'm just really desperate, because I don't know what to do. I've been wanting to change him to the raw food diet, and because he is 5 years old, I don't know if he could be able to handle that change. I mean, he's not a 10-year-old dog either, so he's not super old, but I do think that it would be beneficial for him, because I just think that the kibble is really what is messing up with his digestive tract in some way, and it's not healthy for the dogs. It has all these fillers and all these other preservatives and chemicals that are not good for the dog anyway. And I'm just thinking that that's what's causing the inflammation. Also, the Pet Fresh food that I bought him, it's not perfect either. It's actually processed just like the other food. The raw food diet would definitely have been better, but because I wasn't too, I didn't do too much research on it before, and I wasn't too knowledgeable on it. I didn't want to do it because uh, I didn't want to mess up and give him the wrong portions, or I didn't know really how to do it. And I'm glad that I waited. I did my research, and now I found out exactly how you're supposed to do it. And it has, certain portions. You can't just give the dog like a meat and that's it. Like, you have to make sure that it has a bone in it, and that it's, as long as it's raw, it's not going to affect him, because the bones are softer when they're raw. And and then you have to give him different organs as well, and uh, green tripe and probiotics, or yogurt or kefir or something like that, so that they're able to process the food, and fish oil, and a little bit of vegetables, but it's not too much fiber. And then what was it? So it's uh, if you give him like hamburger type of meat, which is like, of course, raw hamburger meat, that you're supposed to give him calcium as well, or give the dog calcium, because since it doesn't have bone, eventually that uh, leaches the calcium from the dog's bones. So, I'm glad I did the research beforehand. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known how to portion it, and you have to portion it correctly. Otherwise, it also messes up dog's digestive tract. So, that's the only option at this point that I'm considering. And at this point, I'm just thinking that perhaps this is something more deeper, and that might needs like a surgical solution. But none of these vets have, recommended me to a specialist. And they don't seem too concerned. They just think that, oh, it's, normal, it's fine. And I just think that it has a lot of urgency at this point, and I'm trying to make like the first step, or take action at this point, because I see that my dog is in pain and he's struggling, and he's still a young dog. He's only 5 years old. I just don't think, that he's ready to go yet. So I'm trying to find solutions. I know that there is a solution out there, and maybe it might be something simple as the raw food diet change, or I don't know, but I do think that it might require surgery. I've heard of, through my mom, she had a friend, or someone that she knew, that had a German Shepherd and had this issue as well, and she had to take him to um, a place in Orange County, uh, a vet specialist, and the dog went through surgery. And from what I understood is that it was very expensive, but it helped the dog. Um, I've also done research on that, on perianal fistula and surgery for perianal fistulas, and they say that sometimes it works and sometimes it comes back. And I only think that the reason why it comes back is, again, because of the diet, because of the food. They're not changing the food. Uh, but I am considering that, but at the same time, I'm trying to figure out if the solution isn't as bad, or if there is a easier solution. Um, and yeah, I mean, if there's, that's all I can say for now.